Hi and welcome, this is Dave Litton from Projex Academy, and in this very short video I want to show you how to use the basics of Microsoft Project in the 2020s for small, simple projects. So let's make a start. Now I want to open the Microsoft Project application itself. Please don't forget there's an accompanying guide that you could print out and have in front of you, as it will be helpful while I go through this. Now, the first thing you'll want to do is to set up your basic project information. So let's first of all open a blank new project, like so, and your default view is your Gantt chart. The first thing you'll want to do is to set up your basic project information. So for this we go to File and then choose Options. Starting with General, much of this you won't need to change. We can leave the date format as that. Go to the Display option. If we want to set this up in particular currency, let's use dollars, like so, and US dollars. Go into Schedule. We'll leave most of this as it is. The week starts on a Monday. Here you can see your default start times. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and ends at 5 o'clock at night. That gives you 8 hours a day with an hour off for lunch and 40 hours per week. Here's something, however, you may want to change. Rather than have new tasks manually scheduled, you'd want to use them as auto-scheduled so that when you link them together, they will automatically select the right start and finish dates. We'll keep everything else the same. Now, let's go to the Advanced tab. Most of this you'll keep the same, but here, for example, if your organization has a default hourly rate that gets charged to projects, you could change this to some hourly rate. Here, let's change that to dollars, and now we can click OK. Now, today's date I'm recording this video is in fact the 19th of May 2023, and if I just pull that up and have a quick look at it, let's select our project to start next Monday, which is the 22nd of May. So to do this, select the Project tab, click on Project Information, and here we can set our start date to, as I've said, the 22nd of May. Very good. Close that out. Let's now look at the project calendar. And to do this, we stay on the Project menu up here and click on Change Working Time. Here's your default calendar, which, as you can see, has Monday to Friday working from 8 in the morning till 12 midday. Take an hour for lunch, returning at 1 o'clock, and then work through till 5. That's your 8 hours. And every Saturday and Sunday is a non-working day. If there are any particular days that you do want to change, let's imagine that the 30th of May is when your company uniquely is giving employees a day off. You click on that, select exceptions here, and in this field you can write company holiday, for example, your start and finish dates, and it'll automatically fill in the 30th. Now, if you actually want to change the hours you work each day, or indeed whether you work Saturdays or Sundays or both, you need to go back to Options to harmonize the way in which Project calculates it. So go to Options, and here you are with your default start time. Hours per day could remain the same, but your hours per week will be different, of course, if you're working weekends, and hence days per month as well. While we're on scheduling, I just want to touch on a very important aspect here. It's called default task type, and it's set to fixed units. If you click on the pull down menu, you'll see you've got the options of fixed units, fixed duration, and fixed work. You see, the standard formula for any task, if you think about it, is the duration of a task will be in proportion to the amount of work effort that needs to take place upon it, but divided by the number of people that are carrying out that work. As a rule of thumb, if you've got twice as many people, then you can get the same amount of work done in half the time. So duration equals work divided by what Project calls units. That's how much of a person is being used. You could have 1.5 units, which is one person full-time, one person half-time. But for now, we'll keep it as fixed units, which is sensible if you think about it, since when you put people on a task and something needs to change, such as the work, by default, you want to keep those same people on that task. So here we go, press OK. So as I said, this is the default view, the Gantt chart, and it consists of two sections. To the left here, you have the entry table. Take my word for it, we'll look at that shortly. And to the right of that, we have the timeline. So let's start off by entering a simple task. Simply click in the task name, and we'll call this task Start. To enter it, I'm just going to click down below and you can see it enters it as 1 day by default. Why the question mark? That's because Projex is telling you this is an estimated duration. I'll simply go back and remove the question mark. If this is going to be a milestone, notice the symbol here starting on Monday, 22nd of May, is a blue bar. If we take this to 0, which is what a milestone is, it's shown as a black diamond with the date printed to the right of it. Let's now add some more tasks. Let's have the plan task, a design task, build task, a test task, an install task, handover task, and a final milestone called finish. So let's put that finish down to 0 as well to show it as a milestone. And there we have it. Notice here to the left you have the task mode that we set up to be automatically scheduled. And this indicator column over to the left is useful because it will automatically show you any particular data or details or problems you need to pay attention to for a particular task. You'll see how that works shortly. So let's now pull this dividing line over so we can see the rest of this table. It's called the entry table, and you could replace this with another type of table with different information in it. So for this, I'm going to go to the View menu and click on Tables here, and you can see it's called the entry table. If we put, for example, the work table in, you can see you've got work information here because nothing's happened yet and there's no one assigned to it. It's all set to 0. Or perhaps you might want to look at cost. Let's go back and replace that with the entry table. And now I'm going to put in some more realistic durations. Let's have the plan, which we'll set using the spin controls as 2 days, with the design of 5 days, the build as 5 days, the test as 3 days, install as 3 days, and handover will leave us 1 day. Of course, what you've got of all these tasks, all standing like soldiers against the start date of the project, we now need to start scheduling them. The way in which you do that is to go to the Task tab, and here you've got the ability to not only set percentage complete, but also link tasks using this little link symbol. The easiest way you could do it is to select all of these together and click on the link task. This is called a finish to start, since the predecessor task must finish before the successor task can start. Notice automatically Microsoft Project checks which are non-working days and extends the duration so that those are taken into account. But let's unlink them and show you another way of linking tasks together. You could actually, watch carefully, overlay the mouse over the bar itself and you get a 4-pointed cross. Click and hold the left-hand button and drag it downwards to, in this case, design, then let go of the button and that too will link it. If you wanted to link non-contiguous tasks together, let's say plan task with the test task, hold down your control button on your keyboard, select test, and link again, and this time you can see you're linking plan to test. It also recognizes the direction in which you link them. Let me undo this, but this time I'll select test first and then hold the control key down plan. If I now link together, you'll see it shows test first, then plan second. Again, let's delete that. Now when you hold your mouse over the bar and click and hold, you must be careful only to go up or down, never to the right. But here's what you've got to watch out for. Again, get my 4-pointed arrow over the bar itself, click and hold the left-hand button and move, let's say accidentally, it will then stay there. How does that stay there when there's no link? Well, the answer is, whenever you want to know any information about tasks, all you have to do is double-click on the task name and you'll have the task information dialog box come up. But you can see here, for a particular task, you could select it as manually scheduled if that's what you needed to do. You can also change the duration here, and you could even input a specific amount of percentage complete. But what I want to show you is actually the Advanced tab, and you can see that what's happened is that the reason why this sits out here is by default every task is scheduled to start as soon as possible as dictated by the links. But this has got a start no earlier than constraint on it, which means there's a brick wall here, and this task will not go to the left of that since the brick wall stops it. If we now select this to as soon as possible, which is the default setting, and click OK, it will move back to where it was in the first place. Now what you may have noticed, let's just use this task here, if you do drag something out like that, you get the little dialog box comes up here in the indicator column reminding you that you've got a start no earlier than constraint. Again, I'm going to remove that. Very good. Now, normally, even for small, simple projects, you'll have what's known as phases or stages. And for this reason, Microsoft Project has something called summary bars, which you can use to represent such stages or phases. So let's suppose we want to split this project into stages using summary bars. Let's click on the first task, which is Start. Now we want to insert a task, which will become the summary bar, making sure we have the Task tab selected. Over here, it's got a plus symbol. Click on that, and a new task will be inserted above, and we can now turn this into a summary bar, and I'll call this first stage the definition phase. We'll have the start milestone and the plan task being indented under the definition phase. So again, with the task tab up here and click indent task, you'll see now the definition has gone bold and it represents a summary bar, and it consists of these two. Let's do something similar for the design, build and test. I'll click on design, I'll insert a task, and we'll call this the execution phase. Not, I might add, of the project manager. We need to make sure the execution task, which is sitting underneath start and plan, we want to outdent that, like so, then select design, build and test, and again indent that. Finally then, we'll insert acceptance phase or stage. Once more, I now need to click on install, handover and finish and indent those. Now let's link together the relevant tasks. I'm going to select design, build and test and use the link button, so they're occurring one after the other, and install and handover, and I'll link those together as well. Okay, so now let's link these summary bars together. We'll take this task here and we'll link to the summary bar like so, and then we'll take this task here and we'll link that to the next summary bar like so. Now you can see the summary bars follow exactly the subtasks sitting underneath them. Not just in terms of the duration, by the way, but if we had people assigned to this, then the work would be summed up under the summary bar, and the same for cost. For now though, I want you to look at some of the different ways in which you can connect these tasks together. I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to overlay the link between build and test. And if I double click on it, a task dependency dialog box will come up. And here you can see the default, which is finish to start. When the predecessor finishes, the successor can start. However, there are other linkages which you might want to use. For example, you might want both the tasks to start at the same time, start to start, or finish at the same time, finish to finish, and occasionally even start to finish. However, what I want to show you here is the lag field. If I put a positive number in, such as 2 days, and press OK, watch what happens. It actually puts a 2-day delay between the finish of build and the start of test. Let me double click on that link again. Perhaps you want to use the lag field to put in an overlap, in which case you use a negative number. So let's put that to -2 days and press OK. Now you can see that the test overlaps the build, which might be the case. For example, you don't have to finish building all of it. You could start testing some of it before all the build is completed. Let's make that just 1 day. There we go. If you want to delete the link, by the way, again, you double click on the link itself and press the delete button. Okay, but I'll leave it as is. But let's take another similar example between build and test. Let's suppose that you can't start building until materials arrive. So we'll put a dependency on that. Click on build, go to the advanced tab, and we'll have a start no earlier than, and we'll put in a date, the 5th of June. Click on June, click on the 5th, and now that will dutifully go out and build will not start until the 5th of June. Once again, the indicator column is showing you there's a constraint on that particular task. Now let's talk about resources. Yes, you could double click on any of these tasks, let's say design, and you could go to the resource tab, and if you had any resources, you'd have them here in a pull down menu, and you could assign them directly as so. However, I want to show you a more sensible way, and that is that before you do all of that, you'd want to set up a resource pool. And there's a special view for that. We're on the task tab here, click on Gantt Chart, and we're looking for the resource sheet. Here it is. This is like a spreadsheet, if you will, and you can enter, just like the way you did tasks, the names of individuals. Let's now put a few of them in. Here's me, Dave. Let's have Tom. I'm just using the down arrow in my keyboard. Have Dick, and we'll have Harry. Notice as you enter them, Microsoft Project recognizes these folks will be doing work, and we have a standard rate and an overtime rate. In this case, in terms of dollars per hour, we could just click on Dave here. We'll put him in as $50 an hour, and then Tom, Dick and Harry on 100. Notice they all use the standard calendar, although if you wanted to set up a special calendar, you could actually do that and assign it to each individual. However, there's other types of resource other than individuals. and you therefore can enter non-human resources. So let's have a resource called cable. This will be a drum of cable, so I'll put it in as a material, and here I'll call it a drum. Now we won't have standard rates here, but what we'll have is a cost per use. And let's suppose each drum costs us $350. That way, every time you assign cable to a task, it'll cost you $350. Let's go back there to our old chum, the Gantt chart, and now we can start assigning individuals to tasks. Let's click on the Resource tab up here and click on the Assign Resources under Assignments. And up will come this handy little view here called Assign Resources. Let's click on the plan task to start with, and we'll click on Dave and we'll press the Assign button. Notice now Dave's name is put to the right of that particular task. Let's now go to Design and we'll put Dick and Harry on that. So Dick, I'm holding the control button down, and Harry, and then press Assign, and Dick and Harry are on that task. Now let's go to Build, and again we'll put Dick and Harry on Build. However, we'll be needing to use 3 drums of that cable, so I click on Cable. We'll put the units as 3, and it shows you 3 drums of cable also assigned to that task. Going now to the test task, we'll have Tom and Harry on that, and press Assign. Now onto Install, and we'll have everyone on that apart from the cable, and they're all selected, and press Assign. So let's close that dialog box. Now, as I said earlier, this here to the left of the Gantt chart view is the entry table. So let's go to View, click on Data, and click on Tables, and we'll select the cost table, and here, rather than include fixed costs on a resource sheet, we're simply going to put it here, click on the build task, and we'll add in $400. When you come back to this, you might have forgotten what you added that for, so I'm going to double click on build to get up the task information box and go to the notes field, and here you can explain that the $400 was for hotel and travel expenses. Click OK, and now that information is captured to remind you what that $400 was for. Let's now put our entry table back in because it has that indicator column, and we can see here we've got a couple of problems. The little red icon shows that one of our individuals are over allocated. What this means is they're being asked to do more than 8 hours a day. Now, if you right click, you could select the task inspector view and fix it with that. But to help you understand what's going on, I'm going to do it the traditional way by instead going to the resource tab up here and click level resource. Now, you could do it one person at a time, but I'm not going to do that. I'm simply going to click level all, and Project will look at any tasks which are over allocated and delay them so that the resources are being used on a day when they're available. So let's click on that, and sure enough, if we now pull this back a little bit, we can see that the test task has got somewhat longer. Let's just first of all join up our final milestone like so. So Microsoft fixed the problem by delaying or splitting tasks. And going back here, we can see we've got no problems in terms of resources. So let's now look at the big picture by going to the Project tab and clicking on Project Information. And if you press Statistics, you get a very useful summary in terms of start and finish dates, the duration of the project, the work effort in hours, and the cost. Very useful information to give senior management or your project board or project sponsor. So let's close that. What we need to do, however, before we start delivering the project is to save a baseline. So here on the Project tab, Set a Baseline, we can click on that, and you can see here it's setting it for the entire project. Click OK, and that means that all of the data on all of these tasks, time, cost, work, and resource assignments are held in the baseline. So now we start delivering it, there's actually another view which is quite helpful. It's called the Tracking Gantt. So I'm going to go back to Task and pull down the Gantt chart, and right at the bottom here is the Tracking Gantt. As you can see, you've got 2 bars for each task, and the lower black one is your baseline data. The one sitting on top of it like a sandwich is the current information. So let's now simulate some actual progress on this project. First of all, let's keep on the Task tab and imagine that the plan task, that's this one here, started and finished exactly on plan. This is where you can use these handy little buttons here, and we can set that as 100% complete, like so. It now shows 100% complete. Let's go to the Design task, and if we double click on the task name, we could go to the General tab, and let's imagine that that started a little later. Let's suppose it didn't start until, let's say, the 25th. Click OK, and now you can see the top bar is showing a 1-day delay start and hence a 1-day delay finish. Notice this has had no effect on the remaining tasks. Now in terms of tracking, let's look at work, in which case let's add the work table so we can see those fields. To do this, let's go to View tab, click on Tables and select the work table. While we're on Design, there's the baseline and we can look at actual hours and remaining hours. So if we wish to, we can enter in here how many hours have been worked on that and how many remaining, and Microsoft Project will automatically show you the difference. So let's say we've done 15 hours. You'll notice now the remaining shows 65 hours remaining. But suppose we've got some problems coming ahead and the project manager has quite rightly shown that it's going to take longer than we originally planned. So let's just put this up 80 hours like so. Now you can see not only are we delayed the start, we've got a certain amount complete, but the end date has gone out more than one day. And Project calculated this is 16% complete. And if you look at the remainder of the project, it's all still pretty good. So let's create a real problem here. Instead of saying there's remaining 80 hours, let's put it up to 140 hours. Watch what happens. Now you can see that's pushed the remainder of the project out, and we can see here that we're going to come in late. However, we can look at the remainder of these tasks and work out how we could bring this back, probably by applying more resources and so on and so forth. So that's the top level where you track work completed at a task level. But as we know, there's more than one person on each task. How do we dive down to per person? Hold your mouse in the Gantt timeline, right click it and click on Show Split. This now splits the screen into a top and bottom. The bottom screen is slaved by exactly what you select at the top. So if I click on Plan, this shows the plan information. So if we click on the Design task, we can see that Dick and Harry are both working on this. And this bottom screen is called the task form, as you can see. But if you right click on it, there are various different versions of the task form. And if we click on the work version, now we can see not just for the entire task, but for Dick, what his actual work is and what his remaining is. Similar with Harry. So we can track it down an individual per task level. We could, for example, show that Harry has actually done a lot more work than Dick, and we could put the actual work up to say 20 hours, and we'd bring this down to 50. I'm just making these numbers up. We now press OK. Don't forget to do that. Now that's been updated at that level. All right, one final piece to do, and that's reports. And the latest version of Microsoft Project is much more comprehensive than previous versions. It's actually got a report tab, so let's click up here. There are many different reports here. Let's go to dashboards, and you can see you've got some agile related reports as well, including project overview, upcoming tasks, work overview, and so on. Let's just click on project overview. Let's get rid of this by double clicking on it. You can see it's fairly comprehensive. Again, going back to reports, we'll just look at costs, for example, and we could look at resource cost overview, and you can see how it shows you the different resource names and what they've spent. Very good. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this short video, and good luck on your path to mastering Microsoft Project in the 2020s. One final thing, I promised you as I was going to give you a special offer, and that is here at Projex Academy we've created a new training course called Microsoft Project for Scrum, Kanban and Hybrid Projects Masterclass. Hop on over to projects.com/MSP-Agile and check out further details. Right now it's at a very much reduced launch price, so don't miss out. For me, Dave, it's bye for now.